Hi, I'm Sanira Madani, and I'm a mom of two, a daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who went from scaling an idea to $1 billion business. Yes, $1 billion business. Along the way, I learned that less than 2% of female founders ever hit 1 million in revenue, and I became obsessed on a mission to change that. I believe that there is so much gatekeeping in business knowledge, and that we as female entrepreneurs should be learning from other female founders and leaders who have broken the statistics. Since I never went to CEO school, I've had to learn it all the hard way, but you shouldn't have to, because we believe that you deserve to have it all. And honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I'm your host, Sanira Madani, and today I am so excited because we are at the Female Founder Day in New York City with the Female Founder Collective, and we've been doing interviews all day. I've been on stage, off stage, but right now I'm going to bring you the sweetest of treats because I am with the queens herself. I have Rebecca Minkoff here and Ali Wyatt of Female Founder Collective. Both of you, welcome to CEO School.
Thanks for having us.
I am so excited. I mean, y'all need no introduction. Rebecca, your just entrepreneurial journey. I have been wearing your handbags since since
2005.
Since college, high school. And I was telling you last night, I literally bought our most recent gorgeous, giant yellow gold clutch. I'm obsessed. What you've built is incredible. But what I admire about you so much is when women have success, they really do feel like it's really lonely. And when you have it, you're like, wow, how can I help other women get there? And you really did that, with everything that you built with your brand of Rebecca Minkoff and just completely just owning the fashion industry. It was so amazing to watch. But then you actually take the time to do stuff like this and to support female entrepreneurs genuinely. And I see this firsthand, and I'm so excited to experience it myself. But it is truly incredible. And then you do it as a mom of four. As a mom of four, you guys, I learned this last night and I'm just in awe of all the things. I'd love to just get started with hearing your journey, and then Ali's background with Girl Boss and all the things that she built, and you guys coming together as this powerhouse to say, how can we leverage our business experience to really help women get to the next level is everything. Every single thing that I'm about and CEO School community is about. So this little quick episode is going to be so exciting. And don't worry, I said the word quick, but they will be back. We are going to be doing the most amazing things with the Female Founder Collective and CEO School. And so we're going to be building right alongside you. So let's get started. Rebecca and Ali, welcome. Why don't we get started with your journey and how this whole thing came to be?
So as a founder, I was incredibly lonely. There was so much happening at that time in our journey that had been happening that you can't go to your staff, right?
No.
They would run for the hills if they knew that you didn't almost make payroll, right? Or the bags aren't arriving on time. And especially within fashion, it's cutthroat. It was Devil Wears Prada. So I didn't have community there. Let's forget it. And I started looking at what do I need? I need community. And I feel like there's a lot of lonely founders out there. So I didn't have a strategy. I just said, this should be. And, I said to my then assistant at the time, Elizabeth, I said, okay, this is what we're doing. We need to have a campaign and a shoot and and launch it. And overnight, we almost had 3,000 applicants because you just saw the desire and the need. And then a God intervened and said, okay, you need Ali. And so she reached out 3 months later after she saw what we were building. And she had obviously come with this incredible experience of having built communities where I was just I'm a designer who thinks there should be this. And it was a recognizable seal that you could shop women owned. It was community. It was education. It was getting people like you to tell other women how to do the nitty gritty of business. So we're 6 years old. We have a community of over 25,000 women-owned businesses.
25,000 women. It has got to be the largest of, if not one of the largest communities.
Hey, I'll take it. If that's what you're saying,
think
it's
so.
fact. It's true.
It is true. It is true. I think there's a lot of different communities out there, but this space it's so, women need this. We all want this. So then what happens? So you guys partner together. launched or like scaled. Now there's 25,000 women in Female Founder Collective.
Yeah, I mean, our first event was like 6 months later. It was in New York City. Ali obviously had come from that and knew what to do.
Yeah.
And we said, let's differentiate ourselves. Panel culture is great, but the rah, like, when does that woman take actionable items? Let's make it workshop based, educate these women, 90-minute workshops. And so we kind of made sure that we're always educating women on all the painful stuff.
Yeah, making sure that you're really vulnerable about it. Yeah, I think one of the ways that we met was sort of a summation of what I wanted to create. It was sort of, whenever I think about where I want women to be able to go, I picture Rebecca Minkoff on the floor of a bathroom pumping. It was right after a panel. We were in Cannes for Cannes Lion. I was there for Girl Boss, where I was at the time. And I see Rebecca and I'm like, there's a mom who is doing it. She's doing it all. And like, she brought her baby, but her baby wasn't with her. So she was pumping on the floor because it was that time. And she didn't let that hold her back or keep her from doing the things that she needed to do to grow her business and build her brand. And at the time I was at Girl Boss, and what I had seen was that the biggest portion of our audience were actually founders, that women were leaving corporate America at astounding rates. And then the pandemic accelerated it, right? Whether they wanted to or not, they felt like they had to leave because the only way that they were going to make money for themselves and also keep their home life was to go out on their own. And so I think that trend's only accelerated. And yet there wasn't the toolkit that was needed. And you guys know so much about this with CEO School, is that there's a lot of lack of education, frankly, and real conversations about what does it mean to exit? Are all exits created equally? They're not, obviously. Or, what does it mean to, okay, I have my own business now, but I'm also a mom and I can't afford to pay somebody to come in and help watch my kids. So what does my time look like? What does the split look like? So I think having these conversations and that knowledge share, we say that our superpower is the collective knowledge of our community, because really it's like waves, right? If you have people that have been there before, which in entrepreneurship, it's like no one's ever been in the exact place you are. It's very different from corporate, where there are structures in place that help educate on that. But if you have other people that have been in somewhat similar positions, for them to share their experience and how they got through that, that was really the core and the initial foundation of what we tried to build, is this shared knowledge sort of database and directory where people could come and ask the questions in a safe space and get the answers they needed quickly so they can move forward.
That's incredible. And I fully agree with you on the need of not only being part of the collective, right? The community is so important. I mean, just by nature as women, we are creatures of the village. Like, we are community. That is everything that we need, we crave, is that community. And entrepreneurship is literally the loneliest path that you can go on, especially if you don't have a co-founder or the team. And, quite frankly, like, everything is an uphill battle. It's so hard. We're new to entrepreneurship, right? Like, if you look at the category in and of itself of how business is done, it's not created. The business world was not created for us. Now at the rate at which what entrepreneurship looks like, it is women, right? Like, Black women are actually the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurship today. So what entrepreneurship is going to look like is much different than it did 5 years ago or even 20 years ago. So that piece of the community is so important. But what you talked about, what I really resonate with, and why I love this community so much, is the emphasis on education. And that's where CEO School, I felt like that was a huge part of what was missing for me. It wasn't just a community. I was part of most of like the boys club networks, the EOs, the YPOs, et cetera. And so I had great peers, but obviously not women as part of that. So no one can understand, like, as I was pregnant, how, like, where I'm balancing motherhood and the business and all the things. So no one was ever really in our shoes. But at the same time, like, the playbooks that I was learning from the boys network, though, they were sharing playbooks, they were sharing connections, they were sharing M&A strategy, they were sharing, tech tools, that they were all the things. Somehow there was this educational component of knowledge share. And when I found some amazing female networks and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I get to like talk about momhood and talk about all these things. And I finally feel like women get me, but like crickets on the actual playbook sharing, crickets on the actual education component. And I didn't go to CEO school. And so I need the playbooks and I wanted to share the playbooks. And you have to learn from women who've actually been there. And a lot of the communities were being taught by women who were just creating communities, and community is important. But in order for entrepreneurship to succeed, like we want to be learning from the mistakes that I don't have to make or from the knowledge share. So I do echo that sentiment on education is super, super important. So now that like the collective is here, you know, one of the things I also love is like these events that you throw. We do a lot of like the in person. How did you guys navigate that through COVID?
Great question.
Oh my gosh. There was a lot of Zooms, but we actually ran and launched an accelerator during COVID that was not supposed to be remote. And I mean, I'm sure you can share it because it was your program, but I mean, it was a Hail Mary. I'll say that.
I think that there's an interesting future of work thing that happened when COVID hit.
Yeah.
And that's that things that were not normal for us. Like we never used to meet clients on Zoom. And now like a lot of times you'll have Zoom meetings instead of in person, which is nice because now there's a little bit of a hybrid. But during COVID, it introduced people to the fact that you can actually do a lot of effective things on Zoom. And frankly, up until a year and a half ago, we had all of our programming virtually. Until our community started to raise their hand and be like, we're over COVID. We're not afraid anymore. Can we please get together in person? Because as early as like 2022, we had an in-person event in
Austin,
Texas.
Yeah.
And we were like, are people going to come to this? It was during Omicron. Remember that?
Yeah,
we were like, can we sell 150 tickets? Because like people were still really scared.
Worried.
Yeah.
And there were 450 people that were virtual that year that opted not to come. So we had the entire thing virtual in addition to being in person, which was a feat. But that in that point in time was people were still hesitant. And so it wasn't until like the end of that year. But I think now there's a renewed almost over-indexing towards people want to be in person and they realize that connectivity and that relationship building is so essential. And so we're doing a lot of those also because I think that's where you can be intimate and you can share those.
I feel like that's only where the magic happens. Like it does not happen. Like we've been off, even friendships, like you can make the most amazing friendships via like digitally now. Like I feel like that has been so incredible, but the magic happens when you're in the room. The connections happen in the room. I always talk about it's not just $1 million, like a $1 million business. It's about having $1 million network. And we all have access to that network. Being in person is super important. And we've got to get out of the screens and we've got to say yes and get into the room and there's so much magic happening today. So let's talk about today. How does it feel to like be here today? What's happening? Tell me about Female Founder Day and this like New York vision that you guys had.
We wanted to bring it back to New York. We like to flip-flop the coast or sometimes go in the middle. And obviously, like the weeks leading up, the team not sleeping, late nights, stress calls, like the texts that have been exchanged of, oh my gosh, can we pull this off? But the energy, the women that are coming up to us, I mean, obviously big fans of you. But I think it's just like we're here to educate and we're here to empower and that's what we're doing. And it feels fucking good. Can I swear on your podcast?
Yes, you totally can swear. It does feel so fucking good. It is so awesome. I've had such a fun time just being here. And all the women that are here, I do want to say, we were talking about it earlier, are real. Like these are real women with real businesses that are scaling and that are growing. And it is the best time. I think the conversation that we're having with so many, it's the best time to actually be a woman in business right now.
I agree.
It is the best time.
I think the other thing is something I really want to get out of today is talking about the boys clubs that you've been part of and how good they are about being transactional with one another, but in a way that you still build real relationships. I think also teaching women and normalizing, making asks and making those connections and thinking, how can a relationship create opportunity for my business in a way that doesn't feel icky, right? Like I think a lot of times it doesn't feel good. And naturally women don't tend to want to ask for things or get help or ask for favors. And even for me, I have this wonderful network, and I've reached out to them, and I'm like trying to figure out myself, what is the best way to ask for help that feels good for everyone around? But the reality is people want to help.
But you don't even have to think about what feels good. You can just make the ask too.
Yeah.
Right? Like we literally are like, how can I make it? No, you can just make an ask. Like we can all just make an ask, and people want to help. I think like people do just want to help, and most people want to see everyone win. Rebecca, I've got to ask, how do you stay multi-passionate? Because I get asked this question. You do a lot. You do everything. How do you do it all? So I'm going to ask another woman who does it all as well. What is it like? How do you do it?
I don't do it all. I have really good partners.
Yes.
I have a great husband. He takes 50% of the work. I have a babysitter. I have a school I send my kids to. I have Ali. We have Elizabeth. We have Avery and Carly, and I have my CEO at Rebecca Minkoff, and she has, an incredible team. So the bench is deep.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the surface, all you see on social is, wow, she's doing it all. Oh, I have a podcast producer. I have someone help me write me with my newsletters. Like I have people.
Yes.
And so it's like a big team effort, and that's the only way that it looks like you do it all. But, I'm the first to say I do not, because that is setting women up to fail and have expectations that like they're just going to never be enough because they can't. So it's about delegating. It's about building a great team, finding incredible partners. I couldn't do this.
And being honest about that,
Yeah.
right? I think a lot of times people envision doing it all as literally they have to do every role within their company.
They do not.
Or within their household.
Today on stage, I had a huge session about the freedom formula and talked specifically about time as like the biggest currency, right? And as the question that I get asked is like, I have a do, delegate, delete process. So first, I'm always deleting shit. Right? Like we do way too much stuff that we don't actually have to do. And it's like, what are the actual needle movers of like what we want to do? And then we delegate, and we have to hire. And as women, we're so afraid of hiring. I would say that after now, like within our community and, the thousands of women that I have personally just learned about their businesses and helped coach in whatever way, I think one of the number one things that I find is that women, we just don't hire fast enough. And the delegation component, if we do want to do the things, we have to do the do part, which is like the part that nobody else can do, which is showing up for the podcast. But if you actually look around the screen, we've got a whole team here executing, and then we're here doing the part. So I do fully agree that delegation is key. And the thing that I think, one, it's the hiring, and then two, it's our perfectionism. So our perfectionism holds us back because we're trying to hold on to everything and every process and every word on that newsletter, but we can't. And it has to be like good enough sometimes. And you get to put your 20% magic touch. As long as 80% of the work is done, I can come in and do the 5-minute thing that only I can do, but that's all I have to do. So I fully support the delegate and the delegate part of it. But it is impressive to see that you are passionate though about doing all the things. And do you ever get like, does like the market ever like discount you for it?
In what way?
I don't know. I felt like for me personally, like I was in tech and I would get told all the time by like my board and investors and everything else. It's like, it's too much, right? Like it's, why do you need to be on like social media and the podcast and just like I'm distracted or like that, and it's like, wait, this adds so much value to the business. And so I don't know, personally, my experience was like, I felt that I was, especially in tech, and I see it, even it happened to even the Goldman Sachs CEO, who's like an incredible DJ, but the poor guy couldn't be a DJ because he was too good at it. And so it's like, when you're good at it, like, I'm sorry that I'm good at stuff. Like, I'm sorry that I started a podcast, but it's like a top podcast. Of course it's going to be like amazing. Of course you're going to start a community and it's going to have 25,000 women because you're good at what you do. But I did feel that I would get from the tech world kind of that level of discount for it. But in the women's space, I'm seen as like multi-passionate, but in the boys world, I kind of felt that. I don't know if you had that level of.
I would say that it's a little bit reversed. I'd say a true fashion like critic or, like enthusiasts, like the snobs are like, oh, she's not a real designer if she's doing all these things.
Oh my goodness.
But on the flip side, consumers want to believe in something, and it has to be deeper than product.
Yes.
It is about standing for something. And so they know how deeply I stand for this. And so I don't care what Vanessa Friedman thinks, She probably doesn't care about me either, but that's okay. Like that's not who I'm going after. I'm going after my consumer and our founders. And so I think it's just a different, like, that's not my audience.
I love it. That's such a great answer. And so what are some of the things, like I talked about hiring as like one of the things that I see. You guys obviously, have built such a strong community, coach women, all the things. What are some of the biggest things that you see that are holding women back to their next level? Like what are some of the things that keep coming up that you see?
I think so much of it is about confidence. There was a founder actually I was talking to about a couple months ago, and she was looking at an investment in her business from a celebrity. And the terms that she was given, she was like, do I accept these? These feel really wrong and like not great terms, right? It was sort of a Shark Tank type of, pitch that the celebrity had given her. And she told me what they were. And I was like, wait, that's like laughable. It's horrible terms. Do not accept that. Yeah. And she was like, my gut told me no, but this is an amazing individual and she's done so much and is so successful. I feel like I should take them. I was like, no, go back to her and be very confident in your stance. Walk her through what you would like to see from her in exchange for the investment that she's asking for. Or alternatively, give her a different amount and tell her what you'll give to her for that. And I'm like, but you have to own that. You have to be confident in it. And you have to be very bold in your ask, because otherwise you're going to get run over. And I think that's a lot of times what happens is women are so competent and they're so talented and they're actually running these profitable businesses, but they'll go out into the world and not believe in the big opportunity of what they actually can build. And so ultimately it makes people that might invest in them or might partner with them not want to get behind them, because they don't sense that sort of security in their own ability to build that business, right? It's like when you're in a plane and it's turbulent, at least for me,
I still freak out every time. Yes.
Yeah, I still freak out. And when a pilot gets on and is like, all right, everybody, we're going to be going through some turbulence, but in about 5 minutes, going to smooth out. We're good. I hope you get comfortable. When they sound competent and confident, then I totally ease up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad I'm on this plane. But if nobody gets on, or if it's a nervous voice that comes on over and is like, buckle your seatbelts, I'm like, oh God, So I think it's that same sort of theory. Women are amazing leaders and they build great companies, but we need to have the confidence that we are doing that, right? And then to communicate that out into the world. And then I think that's when people will get behind you, no matter man or woman.
I think that's spot on. And we're definitely going to be doing individual episodes here so we can get to know Ali's story further and Rebecca's story further. And this was just kind of like a teaser episode today. We've got lots of amazing collaboration. We're not ready to share yet, but there's going to be amazing stuff between the Female Founder Collective and CEO School. So you guys we're so excited. We're thinking about every single one of you here, and you're with us. We're taking you with us. But before we end today's short episode, we always talk about success and all the success, but I do got to ask each of you, what's been the hardest part about your journey? What is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
That I remember I used to say to myself, oh, I can't wait till we're this size and then I'll be able to put my feet up and it'll just be easy. And I just have this vision of relaxing. It's never happening. Just want to say that.
It never gets easier.
I don't think it ever gets easier. There's always something else that makes it harder. And, once you acknowledge that, say, okay, this is a game, there's always going to be barriers. There's always freedoms. As long as I have my purpose, I keep at it and I encounter a barrier. On the other side of this, freedom, another barrier, freedom. But that is the game. It's not the end goal of putting your feet up. Maybe you could do that when you sell the company and, have your yacht, but
yeah, and we're not there yet. And then you build again. So it never gets easier. I fully echo that. It never gets easier. I would say it never gets easier. You just get better. Yeah. You get better at navigating it. It doesn't get easier. You get better at navigating it, but no matter what size, the challenges still come. And Ali, for you, what's been your hardest part about being an entrepreneur?
Getting timing right.
Okay,
right?
Tell me.
Timing of sales, timing of partnerships, timing of when you're supposed to hire that hire, when to let go is probably the biggest one, right? Is figuring out, somebody asked earlier, they're like, when do you know it's time to hire somebody in a particular category, right? I'm like, well, if you like feel the heat on it and you're moving forward, then you should do it. But I think it's really tough to know like, what is that exact amount to spend, or particularly the letting go piece, right? Of like, I used to be in sales, right? And so I knew directly, what am I impacting, right? What amount of money am I driving into the business? When you're in a CEO position or a founder position, it's harder to see directly your impact. So you have to like really figure out, where am I supposed to let go? Like when to let go, like you said, the newsletter, like when do I let go of like writing the newsletter, or when do I let go of the marketing function or whatever it is?
80%. You let go of it. You put your magic touch on that final 20%. So what do you have to say to her that if she feels like she can't get timing right, what advice do you have for her?
Oh, I think that's the thing that I'm still trying to figure out.
I would say
there'll be more chances. Like we had something innovation wise, we thought we were going to get behind and we were too late, Yeah.
I think it's about trusting your gut too on timing. Like the timing is, if just listen to your gut. I feel like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right. So like, you are going to hire somebody a little too early. Well, it's okay. And then you can let, if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. Like take the chance, take the risk. I would rather, like for me, the thrill of entrepreneurship is like, I love the adrenaline. Like I'm such my husband says I have like a very addictive personality, which is very true. But I am like I love the dopamine. I'm like, okay, I want to win. I want to win. I want to win. And I think for me, timing is it's now, like YOLO. Like you literally get to like do it. I lost my father. He was 57 years old when he passed. And I think about that so much because I'm like, there's no guarantees. Like, and as Rebecca said, entrepreneurship is a game. So it's a game, and let's play, let's have fun. And I think that's what it has to be, especially as women. Like we're here because we have to be here. We have to build the most amazing big businesses because our voice matters. And when we succeed, we all succeed, and the future generations of our world succeeds, because I believe that the world would be a completely different place if we had women at the top.
Amen.
And that goes for exactly everything that's happening in the world today. I believe would not be happening if there were women at the top making these decisions. And so it's important. This mission is important. You two are so incredibly important to this. And I'm so excited that you guys are part of our journey as well, and for all the things to come. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, screenshot it, tag us online. We're all here. We want to hear about all the things that you want to hear from us. I'm going to have Rebecca back. I'm going to have Ali back. So shoot me the questions. Let me know what you want me to ask them, and how you look forward to seeing the CEO School and Female Founder Collective come together, because we're putting it together and we want your voice at the table. You always have a seat with us, and we're so excited for all the things. Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you, Ali, for today. I can't wait to have you back, and let's get back on stage. Okay. We'll see you next time at CEO School. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you loved it, leave us a review. We are so proud to bring you authentic conversations, game changer expert guests, and valuable content on and offline. The best compliment you can give us is by screenshotting today's show and tagging us on Instagram at CEO School and at Sanira Madani. We are obsessed with swag, so don't be surprised if we want to send you some. Thanks for tuning into class today, and remember, nothing bad happens when women make more money.